Okay, so a lot of people have been talking about the big changes at YouTube and Google Plus and a lot of that kind of stuff. And what they've done is they've definitely made it easier for somebody to track you, especially comments now look like they track both ways a lot more than they did in the past. So what's going to happen on this stuff is that if you like to semi-anonymously go and snipe other people's videos and say stuff, that anybody can look at your Google Plus page, and not only are they seeing the comment, but they're seeing the video that you responded to. So when I'm not working, I spend a lot of time online and a lot of time on YouTube looking at this stuff. So there is no the anonymity and privacy with this is definitely reduced. The other thing is, of course, they keep asking for a real name, and I'm not trying to be like super spy man with this. I just don't really like giving all of that out on the open internet. Back in the mid 2000s, I used my real name in a lot of postings, and there were people who, total strangers would use it against me. And when I used a variation of my name, I used like the first few letters of my last name in a lot of other stuff in the early 2000s. From the in the mid 90s, I used my real name. Early 2000s, I used a like shortened version or initials type thing, and there were of course anonymous people who figured it out and used it against me. And now I use a couple of different aliases because I just don't want it to be readily searchable. And so, I mean, sometimes you're drinking and typing, other times you just don't necessarily want retaliation on something. But I understand the concept, which is one reason I do watch what I type and watch what I say in a lot of stuff. There's some postings I've made that I probably wouldn't want my mother to see. I'm not in Facebook or MySpace. I am in a version of Twitter that's an adult-oriented website, okay? So I don't think I want all of that stuff posted in on YouTube. And if I can convince any of those girls to make videos with me, this probably won't be on YouTube either, although there is one where she's fixing up a car, and I'd like to have her and some stuff with the handyman fix-up type stuff. She's actually kind of good at welding. She's a stripper who knows how to weld, which is pretty interesting. And she fixes up cars when she's not dancing, so that's kind of interesting stuff. So I'm trying to convince her to do this. And that's one of the things that's kind of had her not necessarily want to get involved with YouTube because of the reduced privacy. She has she has multiple careers. One of those careers is that she's a dancer, and she doesn't necessarily want people to figure out from one circle of people to the other circle of people. She doesn't necessarily want to do that. And I think a lot of people want to be able to maintain some of those levels of privacy, and that's where we start to have a problem with Google. On the other hand, if you're really just going to focus on one thing, then Google's a good thing. Google Plus, but there's a lot of us who chose not to do Facebook and MySpace and all these other things. Excuse me. Because we really want to compartmentalize things. And it's just a basic element of personal security to compartmentalize a lot of activities. And when we do that, we like to be able to, kind of maintain a little bit of privacy on that stuff. It's one reason I haven't done Facebook or MySpace is because I don't really want my enemies to figure out who my friends from high school were or my family. I don't want to expose other people to that. So on the YouTube thing, this allows you to kind of help conceal who some of your real friends are among fans, and so that's one way it works. There are some benefits I'm finding to this. For example, the old timer Lee. I followed his channel. He follows mine, and he did a longer response post to one of my videos. And I appreciate it when people respond. But as you can see, this is three paragraphs here. And so apparently one of the benefits of things shifting over to Google Plus is that if you have time and you're doing more, you can do a longer written response in a conversation that was started by, in a topic that was started by a video. What I'm not finding right here, though, is I'm not finding response videos. Okay, we lost response videos when Google and YouTube changed a lot of what they do, and folks, I'd really like to see response videos come back. There's a lot that can be done in a response video. I would do response videos for my own videos because there's like part 1, part 2, part 3, where I want people to understand that these are related videos without having to go through all the trouble of creating a playlist or putting it in the video description. Because what happens when we put it in the video description, you just get that URL line of text on there. But if I did a response video, then a response video gets to be the little icon of the little intro icon on the video. As far as I can tell, we're starting to lose that with Google Plus. I'd really like to see response videos come back, and things are doing well with that. So with Google Plus, there are some pluses. Okay, it's a response video and that sort of thing. And I think whenever anybody discusses, I mix some personal politics with my how-to stuff and personal life. It's an unsorted channel. What I'd like to do at some point is probably separate out a lot of the subject matter into different channels, but I'm not able to, it's very difficult to do that under the new Google Plus system without having to open up an entirely new ID, because apparently somebody can simply subscribe to one profile and then they automatically get subscribed to all of the others. And then what happens is when somebody subscribes to all of the others, it's still there. I mean, that's the whole following thing. It creeps me out if somebody's like following and not exchanging. Okay, it does. I'd like to say, okay, this is cool. I don't know if. I just don't know, and so there's pluses and minuses to this whole thing, but I really like to see YouTube come back with response videos, and it's nice to stimulate conversation on a lot of this, but it's tricky. It really is tricky. The other thing I figure you might as well do while you're at it is go ahead and with the advertising stuff, okay, might as well just make it available. I don't know if they're already doing it. Somebody can explain to me. If, on these sidebars, we throw a little advertising revenue on there. And if they do that, then I would probably work to make this page a little more interesting. But everything here looks like it's just basically a back and forth of different postings that I made, and really got to kind of, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I will say it's not a total disaster the way some other people are saying. I mean, one thing I do like is the ability to have longer postings in responses like this guy's done. And when we get into subscriptions, I started to see a bunch of people were talking about their response, and I don't know. I saw videos on here where people were just talking, like it wasn't happy stuff. But yeah, so that's my take on it. I know it's a long video. Probably not too many people will watch, but if the people from Google are watching, please bring back response videos. I'd really like to bring that back.